Okay, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we are going to talk about the characteristics or let's say uh, features of the commercial discourse. Last time, if you remember, we talked about the lexical composition of the commercial discourse. As a part of this lexical morphological also features will be added to the discussion here, as we all know that, let's say, commercial discourse can get into the morphological features in terms of affixation, word formation, conversion, abbreviation, both, I mean, lexical abbreviation and the graphic abbreviation. The use also of synonymy as a semantic tool, high degree of idiomatic expressions that presents difficulties for translators because there is no word by word translation, or there is no word by word equivalence. So the translator should actually have a kind of good and acceptable rendering of the meaning and equivalence in the context. So actually, this can be reflected at the morphological level. Also, sometimes the use of precedent metaphors like names, utterances, texts, and phenomena with cultural or historical significance. When we talk about utterances, we have to pay attention to the difference between the utterance as well as the sentence. So where in the utterance we have where we have let's say the produced forms, while the sentence is the abstract form. Also, it can enhance the pragmatic impact while maintaining precision. And this is very challenging because here we have to maintain precision, and at the same time, we have to also look into the pragmatic behavior of the text so that we can come up with the proper meaning according to the proper text. Also, we have sometimes, let's say, emphatic constructions especially in oral discourse where maybe pragmatics is there. So it includes inversion and constructions like beginning or starting with it. For example, we have use of lexical emphasis like only, very, too much, and so on and so forth. It also has negative emphatic constructions with the use of no before nouns like let's say, no passenger is allowed to enter the cabinet, for example. So here, actually, this is very important to pay attention to such constructions like this. In general, here, I would like to actually pay attention to some translation problems and strategies that translators encounter when doing translation, especially in the translating of economic or business text, because it is demanding, it is very strict. It requires a certain type of interpretation that is dissimilar to the other genres of for translation, because the translators must conform to or must stick to the information in the source language. Uh, Also, in business, because it is very dense context, so no part is allowed to miss here. So the whole document should be translated without leaving anything out. Figures and numbers, for example, should be given utmost attention, and no new numbers should be added, changed, or removed. So here, management or adaptation is not possible and it's not allowed, because here we deal with numbers, and these numbers reflect facts. So we cannot make any changes in the commercial discourse. Another problem relevant to the false cognates, and this is actually a very important thing. Cognates or falsifiers are words in two or more languages, and they have a common origin, and often let's say look or sound similar and have similar meanings. For example, when we have the English, for example, mother, right, with the English mother, with the German Mutter or father, Vater or something. English مثلا night, English night, for example. And cognates we have nosh or noch in Spanish. For example, in English and French, مثلا information. And here they seem to come from the same ancestral language, which is Latin, Greek, أو حتى Proto-Indo-European languages, which is a way that they are called cognates. So cognates here have uh, this type of relationship. We have طبعا يعني before leaving this idea, we have to pay attention and know not all similar looking words are cognates. Some are false cognates. يعني sometimes we shouldn't allow the surface structure or the morphological shape maybe let's say mislead us in terms of the cognates or false cognates, because they look alike but they have different origins. For example, we have مثلا the word actual. We have the word actual, and we have the words in Spanish actual. So here, which means current in Spanish. So they are false. They do not belong to one ancestor or origin. Yeah, and this is a kind of a quick just reminder of how cognates work and how they are defined. So here another problem. So هنا another problem here is related to the false cognates or false friends. So they are the words that look alike, like, and they have partially, completely different meanings in different languages. مثل ما حكينا يعني compare become in English with the Pokemon in German, which means to get, not to become. So these are related to the so-called cognates. So we have to pay attention, or not we, but the translator has to pay attention when doing translation. Neologisms are very important in translation. They are very important, and they are determining for the sake of correct translation, precise translation. So they are a challenge. They are what? They are a challenge for translators of economic text. So neologisms are defined as a newly coined lexical units or existing lexical units that acquire new sense. So when we say that Europe is being bagalized, for example, bagalized is a kind of neologism. They are new terms and that are continuously being created, and translators often cannot find available translations for them. So they have to come up with their own translation, and this is how such a kind of translation is very challenging in this or at this regard. Also, types of neologisms and different translation strategies for each type, we have to be aware of them. In general, we can say that neologisms are divided or classified into two categories or types. The first is the existing lexical items, but with a new sense. So this category is subdivided into words and collocations. وبالتالي the translation strategies suggested for them include transference with inverted commas. So there should be a kind of intervention by the translator to draw attention to this such a type of division like this. So the target language in neologisms with composites and target language derived words. New terms introduced. This is the other type where we have new terms that are introduced. Uh, okay, new terms that are introduced. Uh, let's say in the target language, and they are subdivided into the following new coinage, derived words, abbreviations, collocations, eponymies, phrasal words, transferred words, acronyms, pseudo-neologisms, and internationalisms, which refer to the internationalized forms in the language. Okay, so the strategies to deal with neologisms is to deal with this category using different strategies, like, for example, naturalization, right? So in translation, when we talk about naturalization, it refers to the process of, let's say, adapting a word, a phrase, or structure from the source language so that it sounds more natural and familiar in the target language. So it is a kind of domestication, خلينا نسميها strategy, where the goal is to make the translation feel a native language or local sense to the reader. So even if it means it means altering cultural or linguistic elements. So so here so for example in French مثلا يعني we have a kind of very small example on naturalization. For example, we have L in French, uh, uh, obtenu, il obtenu, son, uh, uh, okay, baccalaureate, something like this, right? So for the naturalization, we say literal, إنه il obtenu son baccalaureate, يعني he obtained, huh? He obtained his عفوا his baccalaureate. So for naturalization levels or reasons, we say that he graduated from the high school. He graduated for he obtained his. So this is a type of naturalization that we all tend to use to make our translation better. Okay, so here recognized target language translation, functional terms, descriptive terms, literal translation, and translation procedure combination. So all these are strategies that a translator should use in order to deal with neologisms and to be careful when doing a kind of a translation. Okay, thank you. See you next time.